What does it take to live an extraordinary life? Just recently, I changed our home from Christmas and the Christmas decoration to what I call ordinary time. And as I was writing my blog, I thought, what about a life that's ordinary? There's nothing wrong with an ordinary life. But what does it take to live an extraordinary life? And that's what we're going to be talking about today. That it has nothing to do with luck or perfection and not even the latest trends. What does it take to live an extraordinary life? Rooted in a new word that I created, JAPHILAFF. Yes, you heard it correctly. What is JAPHILAFF? What's the word that I created to express how to live an extraordinary life, rooted in JAPHILAFF. You ready to learn? Well, you have me today as your certified life coach, and who knows what's going to come out of this class, but I am really excited. So get your pencils, your paper, your pens, whatever it is that you like to work with, because we're going to learn and grow together. And when you need a friend, you can count on me. I'll be right here waiting for you. Hi, my name is Lillian McDermott, and I am a certified life coach. I am a certified holistic cancer coach and the host of the Lillian McDermott radio show, Classroom. If this is the first time that you're tuning into the classroom, please know I've been waiting for you. This is a safe place where you can go when you need a friend. It is my commitment to provide natural ways to heal, and it is my mission to make awareness, responsibility, and truth a part of our everyday life. And I hope you, my listening and viewing friend, will feel empowered to embrace a new truth and live the life of your dreams. Yeah, I know I got you in the edge of the seat going, what the heck is JAPHILAFF? Well, JAPHILAFF is an acronym I created in humor, by the way, to remind us that a life rooted in joy, acceptance, peace, health, inclusion, love, abundance, forgiveness, and focus is a life worth living. It's an extraordinary life. And I'm sure I could have added other acronyms or other letters to this, but maybe we'll realize how they're all interconnected. Are you ready to learn? Because curiosity is what this classroom is about. I always say that it's about taking ownership and responsibility. But curiosity of being responsible also. So if you're living a life that you feel is not extraordinary, or maybe you want to improve on your life, perhaps JAPHILAFF is what you've been waiting for. So are you ready to learn? Let's learn and grow together. Here we go. Okay, so as I mentioned, I was looking at this ordinary time. This ordinary time, my house during the holidays converts. We probably have like maybe 5 or 6 Christmas trees. They're not all big. There's a pencil tree, 2 little twin trees that you heard me talk about while I had my time off. And then I have the regular Christmas tree. And in every house, there's a tiny little tree, something. And the house is full of lights. I love it. It makes me feel so empowered or inspired to be light out there. And the light is I just love light. What can I say? And I do everything in the light. And I will tell you that people who don't like me just don't like the light. And, darkness loves to be dark. And just a single little flame can take that darkness and make it light. So light is always so important, like being lighthearted, having a great sense of humor brings that lightheartedness to you, being light about, your judgment. And so light is a very important aspect of my life. And so when we look at the different aspects of it, joy, acceptance, peace, of course, we're going to be talking about every single one of them, but I'm going to mention them again. Joy, acceptance, peace, health, inclusion, love, abundance, forgiveness, and focus. Those two F words. And how do we achieve them? How do we achieve them, especially at the beginning of the year when, when you see my house go from, you know, extraordinary time or Christmas time or holiday festive to ordinary time. It takes a while to get adjusted. Oh gosh, but then your house is comfortable. It's different. And so that's what inspired to write. I wrote about this in my blog, as a matter of fact, and how everything came down and now it's ordinary time. So let's talk about how to live a life with JAPHILAFF. So I laugh every time I say it because at the end there's a laugh, and it makes me joyful. And that is the first word is joy. What can you do to bring joy into your life? You could always tell someone who is sad or not joyful or is looking to be critical of everything. Maybe they're a perfectionist or it's like they're constantly looking at what could go wrong. And I always say that we should be an equal opportunity. If you're going to look at something that what could go wrong, you must stop and say, but what if I do this? What could go right? And not just act in fear. What could go right? That means, what if I knew that everything I do is going to have a positive outcome? Knowing God's word always helps. And knowing that God works things out for the good of all. That means He works it out for you and me. So even if I take a misstep or what I would call, or like what most people call a mistake, I call it a growth opportunity, especially if you learn from it. So what if I do? What if it doesn't turn out the way I thought it was going to turn out? I believe it's going to turn out better. And even if at that moment it doesn't look like it's turning out better and it's setting you back, I really truly believe this is God's way of intervening and saying, I've got something better planned for you. I'm setting you up because you're not doing it the way I want to do it. You're just going to have to step back, allow me to take over. And when I say me, not me, God. And that's been a great lesson this last year and going into this year. That sometimes I don't need to control a situation in order for it to turn out really well. We don't. We just don't need to do that. Joy is so important. It is very important because it leads to, if that is your foundation, it will lead you to so many other places. So when God is telling you this is not the right direction, instead of us throwing a tantrum and complaining and whining that things didn't turn out the way I wanted them to be, and then we take a step back and say, you know what? Everything works out for the greater good. And even if I took a misstep or call it a mistake, I really learned how to do this better. I really learned that this is a better option for me. So, joy, when you do everything from joy, it makes you look younger. It makes you feel younger. It makes other people want to come towards you. Because if they're people that are darkness kind of person and they're attracted to your light, don't let them suck your light. You got to set parameters. Be joyful. And you know how everything, emotions are a frequency. So you want to align yourself with joyful people as well. Because do you have any people in your life that just suck the life out of you because they're so miserable? Then be predetermined. They will not, and I know that we don't think in don'ts and nots, but they can't steal your joy. That's the proper way of us speaking that we've been taught to speak. But be joyful. Is that what you want to register? I want to be joyful. So when negative people get in my way, I poke them in the eye. I want everybody to be joyful around me. And if somebody's sad, hey, listen, I am there for you. But every time, then we take ownership. How much joy do I embrace in my life? What can I do to embrace this joy in my life? And we're going to continue with that. The how do we do these things? Dancing, surrounding yourself with people you love. If you are miserable and everything is critical, then I don't know how I can help you other than shift, dance, drink some water and say, you know what? I need to be in the now. Because when people are grumpy, and I'm just going to go ahead and open this and just take a drink of water. When you take that drink of water, you can't be thinking about the future, that makes you anxious, or the past that you want to rewrite and makes you depressed. Just say, I am going to focus on now, touching your clothes, doing something that brings you to this moment. Right now, I'm standing and my feet are in a grounding mat. And that grounds me. Now, you can't always be grounded because, we wear rubber shoes. But if you're walking barefoot in the beach or walking barefoot outside or standing on your grounding pad, that will help bring that joy to you. But if you stand there all grumpy, wanting to find fault in it, and going, this doesn't work, well, it won't. Joy is a choice. And you know what? Before you go anywhere, just bless the moment, bless the situation. Just know that today is going to be a beautiful day. No matter what happens, I'm going to learn and grow from it. So, joy, that's the first thing. Having a great sense of humor, or even an adequate sense of humor, is good. That will set us up with the foundation of JAPHILAFF. Joy. It starts with joy. Bring that joy. Joy, 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 joy down in my heart. Where? Down in my heart. So joy is very important. So that's the J in JAPHILAFF. The second one, oh, and also that curiosity. I always talk about curiosity. So when we were little, I remember Dr. John Mackey. Dr. John Mackey was my children's pediatrician. I was so scared of him when I was a young mom. And as my kids grew up, I grew up with Dr. Mackey. And Dr. Mackey became like my grandfather figure. Loved Dr. Mackey. And Dr. Mackey, when he's a Southern man, Southern gentleman, and he would say to the kids, when you're little, you learn to read, and when you're older, you read to learn. So that curiosity is so important. Be curious and be willing to learn. Be willing to learn because we have this mentality that after I get my diploma, I'm done learning. No, I don't care what diploma, how high your education is, you're always learning. Be open, and that brings joy. It's not a burden, it is joy to learn. When you're little, you learn to read. When you're an adult, you read to learn. So make sure that you're always curious to learning a new truth. And so that brings a lot of joy. When I learned something new that I did not know, there's a joy that comes with it. Because prior to that, you didn't know. You didn't know, and now you do. Let's celebrate it. And those thoughts and belief systems change. Don't make that a miserable thing or try to be right. Just be joy. The next one is acceptance. Acceptance is the A in JAPHILAFF, that first A. When you start a task or when you have a vision or a focus that you want something to be done, and you have, like, you're married to the outcome. As I said, God works things out for the good of all. That's Romans 8. Read Romans 8. I love Romans 8. When you start anything and you know that whatever the outcome is, it will be blessed by God and that it will be fine. It'll be fine. Of course, you've got to do everything you possibly can. You got to plan, you got to do all these things. But even after all the planning, after everything that you go through, it just doesn't look exactly how you thought it was going to look. That's where joy come in because joy is saying, okay, it's all good. It's good. I'm glad that we did it. We learned the experience, and I accept that this is how it turned out. Now, if I don't like it and I feel, okay, that is something that I need to change, then of course change it, make it better, or whatever it is. But just know that perfection is not going to create joy, that it finishes up the way that's not going to create acceptance that, oh, I'll accept it once it is what I want it to be, not the same joyful alignment. Just know that lightheartedness of I am going to do this project. Like when I do my events, the summit didn't turn out the way I wanted it to be turned out. But do you know how many people have come to me and say, "Oh my gosh, this was perfect. I learned so much." But for me, that wasn't what I wanted. I wanted more, I wanted bigger, and I wanted all these things. But in that acceptance, I realized that's what God wanted it to be. And I was okay with it. I started saying, okay, that was what it needed to be. It taught me so many lessons. And it taught me that I needed to have a core team. And it taught me all these different things that I tried to do by myself because there was nobody else. So it taught me, it allowed me to accept the fact that there has to be more the next time I do it. But do I accept how it turned out this time? Absolutely. I had so much feedback. So acceptance is so important. If you don't accept the situation and you can't change it, I mean, there's certain things like I can change, how I rewrite my do's and don'ts and all the things that I want to do for my next event, if there is a next event, because I haven't felt called to that next event. But when that next event's called me, I'll be ready. Because of my notes and what I needed to do differently, I can do it differently. What if the outcome is not the same that I wanted? Acceptance. Acceptance will always allow us to move on, lean forward, accept the things you can't change, and change the things you can. That is how I live my life. If I did something that caused a different outcome, like maybe I dropped the ball or I didn't trust the right people, or, those are the things that I can say, okay, these are the requirements for this. Whatever the outcome is, I'll accept it because now I learned and I tweaked it and I moved it. And whatever the outcome is, I'll accept it. And maybe it needs to change and tweak a little bit more. So acceptance is key to being joyful. You accept what you can't change and change the things you can. So, but again, with a joyful heart, knowing that all things work out for the greater good. And so there's a pattern here of acceptance. And I just wanted to bring it in because in every single one, you might find that they're all interwoven. JAPHILAFF is all interwoven. We'll get to the end of it and we'll discover that too. The next, so that's the first JA. The next one is the P, which is peace. So when you have joy and acceptance, it leads to peace. So what does it mean to be at peace? To know that whatever happens, whatever the outcome, whether you like it, good, bad, or ugly, that you'll be okay. God never gives you more than you can manage, that you can handle. So that peace comes from a much higher power and trusting the process. A peace could be process, a P could be process, but trust the process. So what is peace? There are people in this world that don't know peace. We just did a class with Carol Howe on the end of violence. Really, the end of violence is peace. If we can come to a win-win, like, there's a world mentality that says, in order for me to win, you must lose. That's a terrible, miserable life. When I shifted from win, lose, my life changed. My business changed. My class changed. My family changed. My marriage changed. Win, win. Even when Robert and I play together, like games, we're cheering each other on. We want the other person to do well. I want to win, but I still want them to do well. And that brings me up to that next level. That win-win mentality will bring us peace every time. And so St. Francis of Assisi said, preach the gospel at all times. If necessary, use words. If necessary, use words. So with that in mind, what does it look like? What does it look like to be at peace? Peace looks like you're floating on the river. Peace looks like a child that is holding their parent's hand and walking side by side with that parent. What does peace look like? Peace looks like whatever you feel is peaceful. You add whatever peace is for you. What does that look like for you? So when you look for peace and you look for win-win, then you know that you're bringing acceptance and joy. So JAPHILAFF works, I don't know I don't know how you say it backwards, but JAPHILAFF works really well frontwards and backwards because they are interwoven, they're intertwined. And I'll probably say this many times so that, sometimes you have to hear things 7 or 8 times in order for it to just like resonate into your brain and it become a part of who you are. So for those of you who are still struggling with their New Year's resolutions and haven't made that shift to making a commitment for yourself and being true to your word, I am going to do this, not try. Anybody can try. I am committed to doing something. That is the difference between the 92% who fail and the 8% that make it. You're committed to the commitment, rain or shine. And so when you are looking at peace, how can I commit to peace? It must come from accepting what you cannot change and change what you can and bring that joy into it. I'm going to move on because I want to make sure I get to every single aspect of JAPHILAFF. The H is health. I'm not going to live a good life if I am not healthy. Oh, okay. Well, you can still be happy. You can still bring joy and still not be healthy. But when you are healthy, there's a quote that I've used before that it's a proverb. I've read it as an Indian proverb. I've read it as a Chinese proverb, but it's a proverb nonetheless. And it's one that I've adopted into my life. That a healthy person has 1,000 dreams, but a sick person only has one, which is to be healthy. So how can we be healthy? Not just by body, but spirit and mind. That's very important. So you get to choose all those things that bring peace and acceptance and joy, and that will bring better health. Your mindset is key. We've done lots of class on mindset. I'm not going to go deep into it, but what you speak, what you think, that is what you're creating because you're going to be right about those thoughts. And I know it's hard to believe, but why would we be right about being miserable? Well, sometimes you want to be right so much that it doesn't matter at what cost. So I want to encourage all of you to really go back to the classes where I talk about mindset and the importance of, having this I can mentality because those that can will, and those who can't won't. It's the same task, But if you start thinking you can do it, it's amazing how easy it is for you to attempt something that you can do versus how hard it is to attempt something that you know you're going to fail at, or you know it's not going to be a good solution, a good outcome. So having that positive outcome, that will increase your health. Now, as you know, I embrace a nutritarian lifestyle. A nutritarian lifestyle is mostly plant-based. It's G-bombs. G-bombs are greens, beans, onions, mushrooms, berries, seeds. I think I got them all. And that is what is basic, essentially in your diet. Now, with a nutritarian, you can add, if you choose, you can add a about 10 to 15% of animal products, but you're not vegan or you're not, carnivore, you're not, there's none of this. So you have that flexibility. And of course, when Dr. Furman has come back towards, being more of a plant-based as opposed to animal-based, but if you are a nutritarian, you are allowed that amount of animal products because even if you're a vegan, you need the equivalent of that in supplementation, which is DHA, EPA, omegas, all those things. So the seeds and nuts, those are ways to get fats and healthy fats and avocados, and there's all these different things. Watch all the classes. I have in my YouTube channel, or you can go to BitChute. You can see that I have a playlist for Dr. Furman. So learn about being a nutritarian, and then embracing that as a lifestyle if you choose it. If not, just know that the more animal products that you eat, the higher the cancer rate is. And but that doesn't mean you're going to get cancer. Just make sure that that joy and acceptance and peace is part of because it's a spirit, mind, and body when it comes to health. Okay, so it doesn't mean that if you don't eat a certain way, one size does not fit all when it comes to eating. And I've learned that through the years. There was many years that I was a vegan, 8 years. But then I started adding a little bit of animal products into my life. And so that is just the way it is right now for me because I have seen vegans get dementia. I've seen vegans get cancer. So if veganism is the answer, then nobody that's vegan would be sick. But what is that? Is it the mindset that makes us sick? Is it the way we eat? So make sure that JAPHILAFF is part of your root, that's what grounds you in the whole process. Okay. So now when it comes to the next one is inclusion. It's inclusion. So just recently I threw a party in my neighborhood, in my building, and everybody, I didn't care if they liked me or if they didn't like me. Everybody was invited. Now they need to decide if they want to come or not. I can't. I can just be invitation. When you invite someone to anything, whether it's to look into becoming a nutritarian or if you want to invite them knowing that they don't like you, whatever it is, when you are inclusive, and that's the I, so you bring that inclusivity, you be invitation. That doesn't mean they have to come to your party, but it does something for you to be inclusive. Now, it's up to them to decide what to do. But I'm not going to sit here and go, I've got 20 people in my house and that 4 or 5 people that didn't come. Oh, I'm going to stew on that 5 people. No, I'm not. I'm going to be happy and joyful about the people that do come. You see, I've got the power to decide that God gave me that power to decide how I'm going to respond to that inclusion. If you feel excluded, then that's on them, because the invitation is going to come from me, and everybody was included. Everybody, whether you liked me or not. So it's that curiosity. What do we have in common? How can we, bridge that gap of me not knowing you and meeting you? So I am going to be inclusive. I'm going to choose that. And that's just going to lighten my heart, bring that health of peace of mind, that acceptance, that joy. I'm working forward and I'm working backwards. Just want to make sure I get everything together. Then, so being inclusive. If you're like, well, I'm not going to invite those people, well, then that's setting you up. That's just setting you up and bringing that spirit down. That's not JAPHILAFF. What you want is to be inclusive. And they come, you be kind, polite, create win-win. Okay, the next one is love. Love, learning, you can just all these things. Love. Love, God is love. God is love. And when you love, even if the outcome doesn't turn out the way you wanted to, like maybe you go through a divorce or a separation in a relationship, a friendship, if the fact that you loved, that's a win. Because if you're fearful of loving, or if you hate that person, that destroys your spirit. Again, of life rooted in JAPHILAFF is a life rooted in acceptance and joyfulness and peace and health and all these foundations. The fact that you love, God is love, that God will shine from you. And you know what? There's something very attractive about loving people. Unfortunately, you might attract people who don't deserve to be in your inner circle. It's happened in my life. But you know what? That's on them. That's on them. I'm still going to love. I'm still going to love even if they hurt me, intentionally or unintentionally. So here's the thing. There's love, there's abundance, and you must be intentional about your abundance. So I'm just going to bring that forgiveness, that love and forgiveness. So, and I'll go into forgiveness too. But when you love someone and they hurt you, you can forgive them. You can forgive them. But there is a difference between forgiveness and trust. There's a difference between forgiveness and trust. And so when it comes to forgiveness and trust, you can love someone from afar. You can send them blessing, love, peace, joy, and unexpected abundance, which is part of my forgiveness story that I share with you, and I've shared it with you in the past. That became what I was wishing onto the person who had hurt me. Every time I thought of them, I would wish them love, peace, joy, and unexpected abundance. At first, it was like, "Arr." But then 3 years later, I am able to dance with this person, you know? And it's a tenderizer for your heart. So love, and even if they hurt you, at least you loved. The people who hurt, then that hurt you, they're going to have to answer to a higher power. Let God handle that. You can continue to be loving. And I'm going to be saying some things that you're going to go, oh, I can't believe this. I can't believe that. Well, I want to encourage you to be curious about it. I want to encourage you to sit with it. I want to encourage you to say, you know what? You're right. I loved. I don't have any regrets. Did I trust the wrong person? And am I trusting the wrong person over and over and over and over again? That means you're not learning. I'm not learning. But use that as a lesson learned. So love can be lessons, but choose to love no matter what. The power of empathy, connection, letting go, and emotional fulfillment or emotional IQ, like a high emotional IQ, that leads to health as well, which leads to, peace and acceptance, inclusion. It leads to all those things. Knowing that you loved at any cost is a win, is a win. And again, The next one is abundance. You know, people look at, oh, if I had any luck, it would be bad luck. I'm like, what? And I remember having this conversation with this friend of mine, and they were telling me how if I had any form of luck, it would have been bad luck. And so they proceed to tell me the story, and all I heard was good fortune. Oh my gosh, had that not happened, this wouldn't have happened. This would not have, and it turned out to be a huge financial win. And I'm like, please don't say that story like that anymore. Please don't say that you're not, you don't have good luck. That was huge abundance. That was great luck. So sometimes we look at things and we say things that are like funny or whatever, but they have meaning in our life. We create that in our life. So this is what this class is all about. The classroom is all about. It's about taking ownership and looking at our life. And I just want to encourage you to go to whenyouneedafriend.com, share this video with your friends so that you can all embrace JAPHILAFF. So that is so important to have that love, to have joy, acceptance, peace, health, inclusion, all the wonderful things, love, abundance, forgiveness, and focus. And focus. That's what we talk about here in the classroom. So I want to encourage you not to just only to share this video with everybody or make comments, but to also subscribe to the website because you would know all about JAPHILAFF already if you are a subscriber because I wrote about it the week before. And I thought, gosh, you know what? This would be a great class to talk about JAPHILAFF. So you would have already known about this. So please subscribe to the website. Encourage all your friends to do the same. Start a group, a JAPHILAFF group. Do whatever it takes to live the life that you want. As I had mentioned in the past, we have lost a couple of donors. And so please consider donating, being a donor in the classroom. You can either give your time, your talent, your treasure, whatever, just sharing this video and getting people to go beyond the algorithms that are being in the classroom. I got tagged because during the COVID time, but haven't gotten out of that. So I need your help. So help out financially, whatever it is, to become an enrolled student in the classroom. You can also go into my Shop Now bag and look at some of these. These are all Lilly approved products. These are all products. And I am excited to announce that we have new products. We have new products, and I'm going to be doing some classes on these new products. There's Brain Tap, there's Liberty Health Share. There's so many different things that we are going to learn and grow together. But right now is not the right time. I will discuss it later on, and you'll know because I'll be doing some my little videos that I've been doing that all of you like. So there's so many different ways to stay, help the classroom grow. Please continue doing that. I appreciate everything that you can do to help us grow. The cost of doing the classroom has increased, and that loss, which I know God is going to provide so many donors for the classroom. Please, if something sparks your heart, whether it's a one-time donation or a monthly donation that we can count on, that is so wonderful to us. And you will put your thumbprint right there in the classroom. You can say, hey, I helped that go through. So whether it's, $1 or $1,000 a month, a one-time donation, whatever it is, please consider giving and give it generously. Whether it's that you give up a cafe latte that costs maybe $10, $5, whatever it is, please consider donating to the classroom. Okay, so let's continue. So I did talk about love. Okay, so let's recap. Okay, we have joy, we have acceptance, peace, health, inclusion, love. And, I've done classes on love. I've done classes on all of these individually. So you can go check out the classes where it's personal growth and you'll find them there. Abundance, forgiveness, and focus. So let's look at the rest of it. So I combined love and forgiveness because, people are afraid of loving because they're afraid they might get hurt. And so, but if you're afraid of getting hurt, then you're not going to experience the love that could come from this relationship. And as I said, if you are falling for the same person over and over and over again, as a certified life coach, I can help you break that cycle. However, that's on you. Fool me once, shame on you. Fool me twice, shame on me. So that's where we get inventory. Why am I choosing the same person? So, but that's a totally different thing. You can still love that person from afar. You can still realize, ooh, I'm recognizing this is another narcissist in my life because they've been throwing that narcissist word. I get it all the time. Oh, my ex-husband was a narcissist, my this was a, and all these narcissists in their life. Well, what do these narcissists all have in common? You, you. So how do you learn to the clues of what a narcissist is all about? Yeah, they're really exciting and joyful and loving and all these, oh, they lift you up, lift you up, lift you up, and then they knock you down. Why are you falling for the same person? So this is where we take inventory in our life and say, this is not what I want. This is not what I want. Okay, but we're going to focus in a little bit on what do we want. So abundance, we talked about abundance and the importance about, just bring that. I Everything I touch turns to gold. Everything, I remember everything. Those are manifestations. Those are ways, but you can't just say, I'm a millionaire, I'm a millionaire, I'm a millionaire, and watch soap operas all day and eat popcorn and just all day long in your sofa and don't do anything. That's foolish. When you are focusing on abundance, you're doing the things that will lead to abundance as well, with that joyful attitude, with that acceptance and peace and a healthy body and being inclusive and realizing that everybody you meet can be the person that's going to take you to that next level. Anyone you meet. Everybody that you meet is an opportunity to love, to grow with, when you have that mindset and that mentality, then abundance is coming. God wants us to be abundant. God wants us to be poured. He wants to pour onto us whatever that abundance looks like in your life. Because what is abundance for me may be different to abundance to you. So start declaring that abundance and acting as if it's going to happen because you're working towards it. It's not just a dream, but everything you say, everything you declare is being sent out into the world. And that's what you attract. That's what you bring onto yourself. And I know that that's kind of woo-woo, but it is in the Bible. So us Christians, read it. It's in the Bible. As you think, you will be. When you don't have to kill somebody physically. If you're angry with your brother, don't bring your fruits to the altar. Talking about somebody is no different than committing murder. Those are all things that we kind of ignore. We say, "Oh, I don't have good luck, well, therefore I'm not going to even try." Well, that's where you're wrong. And that's where the mindset needs to change. JAPHILAFF could be the answer. Your life rooted in JAPHILAFF. Could that change the way you look at things? Because Max Planck, love him. When you change the way you look at things, the things you look at change. Period. So if you're looking at life through the eyes of a magnifying glass, you're going through life going, oh, I'm just going through life, just looking at every imperfection. All you will find is imperfection. When you look at life with wow, wonder, and beauty, then you see that too. You can see a world full of evil, or you can see that in that world, there's also good. You can't be naive about it either. You need to identify it and turn away from it. So forgiveness has always been a big thing for me. My mom and I had such a relationship that if we're like best friends growing up, right? And if I kind of acted a certain way and we'd have an argument with one another, we were like friends right away. There was like, we were instant forgiveness. It's like we moved on. It's like that's the way that I grew up with my mom. And, but there was also some of the things that were flawed in that relationship too, that later I would realize that it kept me from with my dad, my relationship with my dad. And I don't think that my mom did that intentionally. I just didn't know she knew better. But once I knew better, I put boundaries. Like she was no longer allowed to talk to me about my dad. This is when I turned 19. So you start making these, these decisions on, what will you tolerate, what you not tolerate. That's boundaries. It's very important to have boundaries. And when it comes to forgiveness, I went back to love. Even if you love and it doesn't work out the way you want, at least you love. You learn something from it. Love and learn, right? Live in life and learn. Love. All those things are intertwined. They're all L words for JAPHILAFF. So when you forgive, you're not condoning the behavior of the other person. You're basically saying, I am not going to allow those thoughts to remain in me. I'm going to set those thoughts free. Remember, you're accountable for what you do. They're accountable for what they do. And anything in scripture, Genesis 50:20, is the culmination of Joseph's story, where he says to his brothers, what you intended for harm, God intended for good. Joseph became the prime minister of Egypt. He came out of slavery. He had to go into that slavery in order to learn the lessons that he needed to learn. And that's a huge lesson in forgiveness. He could have killed his brothers. He could have done all these things. Instead, he saw the purpose of that terrible time in his life was meaningful. What they intended for harm, God used for the greater good. Romans 8. It all is intertwined. It all works together. So just know that if somebody, and I don't know how many times I've heard this, and if you've said it, step back and think again. I'm not ready to forgive. They don't deserve forgiveness. Maybe they don't, but you deserve to be set free. My forgiveness story happened when it was the first time that I could not forgive somebody because of how they hurt me. And I would wake up in the middle of the night going, oh, and I picked up God's word, and it reminded me that I needed to forgive. Because what I hold bound on earth is held bound in heaven. But what I hold bound in my body stays in my body. And I was reliving that action of that person. And I couldn't sleep. I was getting sick. I had all these things where it was like, this is not me. I'm a forgiver. And it was so hard at first to say, I wish you love, peace, joy, and unexpected abundance. It was difficult for me because I never had to do it that way. It was like easy for forgiveness. Forgiveness was easy for me. But then when you start getting deeper into relationship, a marriage, how do you forgive your husband? How do you forgive your children? It becomes very important that forgiveness be a part of our life because you will be miserable and you will die of a terrible disease. But the people that you need to forgive, they're out there having a good time. They're accountable to they're not accountable to you at this point, they're accountable to a higher power. Always. We're all accountable to that higher power. Make the choice to forgive. And I remember the first time it was like, okay, I just got to forgive. I wish you love, peace, joy, and unexpected abundance. The second time, third time, 3 years went by, as I mentioned earlier. And it was time. I got to see this person. And they tried to avoid me, but I honed in like a missile, got them locked in. I love you. Because there are people that you are born with. There will always be in your DNA. But how do you create that that inclusion? That doesn't mean you have to trust that person. Again, there's a difference between trust and forgiveness. It just means you release yourself from the anger, the frustration, the reliving the story. Like when I tell the story of what happened in my private groups, in my private sessions, or anything like that, when I tell that story, it's to help the other person. I don't even say who the person is, but the person that hurt me, I don't even say who they are. I just tell the story to help the other person release, because you will be the one that will pay for it with your health, with your lack of joy, with, lack of forgiveness. You will pay for it because abundance is spirit, mind, and body. It isn't just financial. And you want that abundance to be for everything. So I've done lots of classes on forgiveness. If forgiveness is something, if you say, I'm not ready to forgive, my challenge to you is, are you willing to start the process of forgiveness? Call me, text me, schedule time for a class, a private session, because this is a free coaching call, basically, while you're watching this. It's a free coaching call. But forgiveness is probably the most important aspect of this whole thing of JAPHILAFF. Just because it's at the end doesn't mean that it's less important. There's no, like, you must do joy before you do peace, before you do, no. It's a circle. You can start anywhere in that circle. JAPHILAFF. It's just easier to say JAPHILAFF. And it makes you laugh. No. Okay. And the last is focus. Be focused, be intentional. Don't just go around saying, yeah, I'm going to do this, and then you don't do it. You have no intention of doing anything. Be focused, be intentional, and say, this year is going to be my best year. And you know what? When you declare something like that, God goes to work for you. Along with you working your plan or working the plan, God is also doing things behind the scene so that it can be the best year ever. I said this in the first class that I did of the year. It was in January 8th, so look it up. Um, it was the New Year class. And it was right after Dr. Joel Fuhrman. My picks. That was the name of the class. My picks for 2026. It rhymed. That's why I went with it. But I choose the love. I choose everything for myself. I want us to declare this is the best year ever. One thing that I did realize is that sometimes when I declare something, I need to trust that that's God's plan too. Again, acceptance. Don't be married to the outcome. They're all intertwined. So when I declare it, that doesn't mean that I have to like be a hamster in a hamster wheel, exhausted. I trust the process and know that if I do my part, God will do it. God will raise it up to the next level. And again, when I say God because I want to be inclusive. But as you know, I am a believer, a Christian believer in Jesus Christ. And so I am unapologetically unashamed of the fact that I am a Christian. So that intentional action. Just know that when you declare something, write it down. Write it down, write the steps that you're going to create there. Make sure that you are the change you want to be. And I always show my little bracelet. People ask me, what is that bracelet that you have? And it says, be the change, be the change. Someone hammered it into a spoon, a silver spoon, uh, and gave it to me. Well, I bought it, but they did it. And it was, it's broken many times. They've changed it's changed so many different ways. And every time I gotta wear it. It's a constant reminder to be the change. I wear it all the time. Even when I'm wearing a beautiful dress or a beautiful gown, I will wear it. And sometimes it might be a little smaller, it might look a little different, but be the change is a reminder that when you start with that. So as we get closer to the end, I want to encourage you to check out my Shop Now bag because there's some new stuff in there that I'm not ready to talk about just yet, but I know it's going to be in there. So send blessing. So this is a way of life. So I will recap what they are, okay? So that you have it. It's joy, acceptance, peace, health, inclusion, love, abundance, forgiveness, and focus. So when you live a life rooted in JAPHILAFF, truly rooted in JAPHILAFF, just check yourself. Check yourself. Do I live this kind of life? Sometimes I do. Sometimes I don't. It's the difference between being in my ego and being in my essence, which I've done lots of classes on that. Check them out. But I want you to send blessing everywhere you go as you're driving. Bless, if you're going to the grocery store, bless everybody that's going to be in your path this day, whether you know who they are or not. Bless them all. Send blessings ahead of you. Like send your little angels. Go, hey, angels, go ahead of me and work your magic for me. Be the change you want to see. Be the change. Be the change you want to see in the world. Don't expect somebody else to be the change. You be the change. Because then if they're not, if you're expecting somebody else to be the change, then you'll be very, very disappointed. Very disappointed. So with that in mind, I want to encourage you to be intentional and focused on what it is that you want to create for this year. Then understand that change takes time. So I've been doing this for 14 and a half years. And in May, it'll be our 15th year anniversary. We started in 2011. And let me tell you, there have been many times that I've wanted to quit. Just stop. I just want to go and make some money. Because I want the class to be abundant, that I don't have to use my money to pay for the class, that all of you are sharing in this expense so that I can do the other things to earn money. But it's all consuming. So I want to understand that it takes time. How have you heard of a 20-year overnight success? I need your help. I need your help to get us to be JAPHILAFF thinkers. Do hashtag JAPHILAFF. That's what I'm going to start doing. JAPHILAFF. JAPHILAFF. Just be aware that that is the acronym for all this life, extraordinary life, rooted in JAPHILAFF and all these wonderful things. And then it also leads to longevity, a healthy longevity, because if you're going to be in your, 80s, like in a, not healthy, that's probably not what you want. What you want is to be healthy into your hundreds, right? So that's what we're focusing on. So once you focus on it, we get to do everything we can to make it happen. And knowing that God is in the background, working with you 100 times fold. And as I mentioned, love. Love is so important. Be loving and allow to receive love. Give and allow to receive gifts. Be in that balance place. Don't just be all about JAPHILAFF and you don't care about anybody, and you're like, oh yeah, I'm good. I don't need your help. I don't need that. No. Give, receive. It's so important. Now, you know about JAPHILAFF. Go out and make disciples of JAPHILAFF for people so they understand that this is a life that's rooted. And a sense of humor, by the way, is so important. So please remember, as we discuss these words, as we discuss the attributes that you need to embody, you be the change that you want to see. And please remember, I'll be right here waiting for you worldwide at whenyouneedafriend.com. This is Lily McDermott wishing you love, peace, joy, and unexpected abundance. Who would have thought that series of forgiveness would become my closing for all these years? All these years. Make it the best day ever.
The opinions and advice expressed on the Lillian McDermott radio show are intended for the individual callers and guests on the program and are presented to our wider audience solely for general educational purposes. Please act responsibly and consult personally with your own medical, psychological, or nutritional expert before taking any steps to improve your life.